Hello everyone, it is the Moose Keeper, and tonight I'm going to be doing something new. I'm going to be doing a sort of little animation, but I just draw it out because I don't have a animation software, but it should still be fun, and I would like to make this a series. So let's hop right into it. The first thing we're going to be going over is what it is like to be expelled from school. Now, unfortunately this has happened to me before. Okay, so this is me. Now, I do a little thing called trap. Now, basically what trap is, if you don't know, it's where they give you a shotgun, or you bring your own shotgun, and you shoot shit out of the air, and you see how quickly and how many you can hit per round. Now, okay, I just explained the sport. Now I'll explain how this all went down. This is the gun that I used. It was my own personal gun that my brother gave to me, and it was a shotgun. It was a 12 gauge. Now, here's what I thought. I thought, oh, I'm in the sport of trap, so if I have the shotgun in my car, there'll be an excuse, there'll be a reason that I have it in my car, right? So, okay, so basically, on my way to school, I was driving my car, 2008 Dodge Charger, by the way. I was driving my car, having a great day, thinking that everything was going to be normal, right? I drove to school, I had the gun in the back of my car, and I was like, okay, the gun, it's out in the open. If anyone were to look in there, they would see it. They would know that I do trap, right? Well, that wasn't exactly the case. Here's what the case was. Basically, a Karen laser-eyed through my back windows and saw that there was a gun in there, and instead of telling my principals about it or doing the reasonable solution, here's what they did. She called the cops. She just straight up called the police. So a guy named Paddy Wagon shows up, and there's a sheriff inside. Now, what this cop does is he walks up to my car, right? I'm sitting in class, and I am watching all this stuff happen, and basically, I see the police look through my window, and then I realize, oh no, I know what they're gonna find. I know what's gonna happen. But here's what I think is gonna happen. I think that Mr. Police Officer is gonna meet with me, and we're gonna talk a little bit, and eventually it's gonna come to a truce because he's gonna realize I'm in trap and that gun in there is for sports, and then I'm gonna go back to class and learn the rest of my math lesson. Well, that's not how it goes. Here's how the conversation goes. The one cop calls for backup. It basically goes good cop, bad cop. One's reasonable with me, and the other's just a complete dickhead. I was there with my dad, and my dad was actually protecting me. He tried to explain to good cop, bad cop that the gun was for sport-related issues, and basically the cops were like, no exceptions at all. Their reason for doing all that was because it was on school property. The law says that's what I was about to get on my record because of this small situation. That is what they told me I was gonna get because of that one mistake that I made. That could have got me jail time, or sorry, juvie time. Anyways, so we get into the conversation. So here's how the conversation goes. This is my principal. Me. So, my principal basically says, you're expelled until further notice. My dad tried everything he could to get me in, but they eventually just said, we're going by the book, so you're out. And then he started escorting me around school, actually. So, picture this as the school hallways. Cop was just walking me around school, making sure I didn't do anything wrong. This is my locker. They made me open that and take everything I owned out of that locker because I was expelled. they thought I wasn't coming back at all. So they made me clear out my locker. And keep in mind, this is during school. So in the windows, all my friends in the school were watching all this happen and filming it. They didn't know what was happening, so they generally thought that I was getting arrested for gun possession or something like that. Everyone thought I was going to jail that day because they didn't hear from me for a while. Now, they cleared out my locker. Everyone watched me leave the school and get escorted by a cop. Around 10 a.m. is when I went home. That's when I got expelled. It was around probably 9:30. Now, my dad left. How the word spread to my school because of social media. This is how the word spread. The word spread that I walked into the school with a gun rather than me just getting escorted out of the school by cops. The word spread to people that were outside of school that I brought a gun into school. Now, that was not very cool. I had a meeting with the principal and my parents about a week later, and the conversation went something like this. So, here's how they resolved the problem. Basically, I went in before school one day, probably 6 a.m. This was while I was still expelled. They told me to sign a paper saying that it would never happen again. Basically, I wouldn't do that again. And my parents watched, made sure everything went right. And my principal and supervisor just made all that up. And they told me that they're on my side, whatever everyone wants to believe. But basically, I got a week off of school, and I still had homework for it, even though I was expelled, which didn't make much sense to me. But, so after that all panned out, I got reinstated. I went back to school the next week, and everyone was afraid of me. Or they thought that I was definitely going to do something bad to the school. Now, I had to deal with that with the whole year, and the next year, too. Because everyone thought that because of how the word spread, that I was going to do something to that school. I bet you're all wondering, what happened to the stage 4 felony that I was supposed to receive? This is basically the best way I can present this. So this is the school. Now, basically how this all panned out was, school only has a certain amount of area that they bought, parking lot wise. So this is the school, and this is the big school parking lot. This is also the other half of the school parking lot. But there's a little line that drew the boundary between the school parking lot and city grounds. Now this is all city grounds. It's all city. And this, for some reason, was city ground too. And right here, where those little black smudges, that's where I was parked. So the courthouse had to drop all the charges because I wasn't parked on school property. Because what they were going to charge me for was having a weapon on school property. But I was parked on city ground. They couldn't do anything about it, so they had to drop the case. Now, it was funny, because the next year at school, what they said at an announcement, they, for some reason, the year after all that happened, they bought all of this ground right here from the city. And then, basically, all of this was school property. Because it was, I don't know if it was a coincidence, but they bought all that ground the year after I got out of a court case because the school tried to screw me over. So they bought all the ground so then they could really catch the next horrible person that does a sport and enjoys it as much as I do. After all that went down, the court dropped the charges, and honestly, I still get crap every year about it in school from all the kids who are supposedly my friends saying, oh, at least I didn't bring a gun into school. That's their only argument against me, and I don't have anything against it. I guess people use whatever they can get. Now, to the people watching this, even after all this happened, that's me. I'm still happy because now I get to joke about it and make fun of everything that happened because it all shouldn't have happened. So they tried to screw me over, but I evaded it because that's the person that I am. I fight for what I believe in, and you really tried. But this was the day that you thought that you caught Captain Jack Sparrow right here. Thank you for watching. If you are the person that called me in, I hate you. And I evaded your attempts to get me. But if you're just watching this because you love me, don't forget to subscribe and have a great day.